Today on TimesCast, in his first public address following 2 weeks of bloody protests, Syrian President Assad stood behind his government's crackdown.
كان هناك تعليمات واضحة لمنع جرح أي مواطن سوري. مع كل أسف عندما تنزل الأمور إلى الشارع ويصبح الحوار في الشارع خارج المؤسسات تصبح الأمور بشكل طبيعي.
After the speech, 3,000 protesters marched in Latakia. Eyewitnesses told The Times security forces opened fire and killed at least 2 people.
The expectation was that the president was going to call for some kind of reform, lifting an emergency law or ending the Ba'ath Party's monopoly on power.
إذا كان هناك فعلا دعاة للإصلاح وكلنا أعتقد دعاة للإصلاح سنسير معهم من دون أن نعرف ما الذي يجري حقيقة.
Instead, he offered none of that. What he did is he tried to sound like he was very understanding of the needs of the people. He acknowledged that there was a need for reform and that he had a reform plan, but that it had failed to be implemented. But he blamed everything on an international conspiracy. He did not acknowledge that any of this unrest was actually homegrown. He identified 2 major enemies, Israel and satellite television.
ولا يخفى عليكم بأن سوريا اليوم تتعرض لمؤامرة كبيرة. خيوطها تمتد من دول بعيدة، دول قريبة، ولها بعض الخيوط داخل الوطن.
And he said together they were trying to drive a wedge between the people of Syria so that Syria came apart. It also appears that what the president was doing was trying to learn from the examples of leaders in Tunisia and Egypt who were forced from power by popular protests. He clearly was not going to appear to give any concession under pressure. What he said was, we'll move forward with reform in due time. I've spoken to some people in Syria today. They're afraid to give their names. And what they said is they took the speech as a threat, that they should stay off the streets. And if they didn't, repression would continue.
This is Ethan Bronner reporting from Jerusalem. In his speech today in Damascus, the president of Syria specifically mentioned foreign forces with an Israeli agenda. That's obviously something that's struck a very specific note here in Israel. If Assad were actually pushed from power, I think for Israel it would be both good and bad news. The bad news is that there has been a really kind of pretty clear détente across the Golan Heights, which Israel captured from Syria in 1967. There have been no infiltrations from Syria into Israel across the Golan Heights in these decades of Israeli occupation. The Israelis consider Assad in that sense a man of his word. On the other hand, of course, he leads the anti-Israel camp in the Arab world. He has been a close associate of Iran, which is the main enemy of Israel in the region. So broadly, the idea that he would leave is a source of satisfaction. The problem there is with what will he be replaced. The likely strong power in Syria to replace him would be some kind of Muslim Brotherhood organization. The concern here is that if Syria does go in a very Islamic direction, it's not going to be good at all for Israel. And that is a source of great anxiety here.